So I want to show you how I tackle a gable with cladding. Could be any cladding. In this case, it's feather edge cladding. So I've got my last straight board up, and that runs all the way through. Now, they're lovely and level. Okay, this one in particular was a nice straight board. They do bend and bow a bit, but this one's a nice straight board. And what I use when we're running through the cladding is a block which keeps the gauge, and we use that periodically to just make sure we need to support something. So for getting my angle, what I'm going to do is establish the angle. I know the pitch of the roof, but because the boards lay in, if I cut that to the pitch of the roof, it's slightly wrong. So what I need to do is just set one up. Let's pin it on here for a bit of support. Put another one here. Then we use a piece of board, an offcut, a decent straight piece. We offer that on there. Pop it in there. Then just using another section of board, we can parallel this. Finding my pencil. It's always a bit of a hazard when I go to find my pencil. I've got one here. So what I want to do is transfer the bevel, or the right angle, from where it's going to hit here all the way up this board here. Now that's the correct angle. Now I'm going to cut that with a circular saw on the bench. I'm going to cut them all on the bench. Once I've established my first board, I can actually cut all of the boards, because it's a bit difficult for you to see. I'll bring it down there and we'll have a good look at it. But there's a technique of measuring the length of the next one by using our board. So once we've got the first one, we try it, make sure it's okay. And then we use our little gauge device there, both ends of the cut one. That gives us the exact length of the next one, but I'll show you that in a minute. The other thing I've got is my Robangle. This is the Robangle, and you can see it's like a bevel, but I use this to run my circular saw against. I should take this down, we'll have a look at it down there. So since I did that last clip, it was all gloomy, it was the end of the day. It's a new day and we have beautiful bright sunshine, so I'm really happy about that. So I was talking a little bit about the Robangle. Yes, I know it's a funny name, it's something one of the guys called it. And this is made of birch ply, it's 9mm birch ply. We've got 4 pieces exactly the same, and they've been CNC'd to form this, which creates a rhombus effectively, or a dead square. And what I use this for is to run my circular saw against. It gives me a really nice long edge to follow. So we mark that board up there. Let's go and get the board that we marked. So this is the board we marked, and we cut that to the lines. If I push the Robangle to that, you can basically get an idea of where we're at. We'll tighten this up just by turning these little wing nuts here nice and tight. So I plan to produce these and sell them alongside my new hinge jig, which is also finished. There'll be a video very shortly for the hinge jig in action. It's really simple, it's really cost effective, and just the easiest thing to use. So there's the Robangle. Now, you can't really do this on a chop saw because this angle is over what you can achieve. On some chop saws you can come round to say 60 degrees, but every time you come round I'm using a 175mm cladding, or sidings as our American friends like to call it, and lumber. I love all these terminology. In fact, there's a guy in California called Chuck who teaches in a technical college there, carpentry, and he's been in touch with me to tell, we had a bit of a conversation about terminology, and I said, let's do a Zoom and talk about the terminology. Things like people call pants trousers, pants, which amuses me as well. So we might get that on, that might be quite an amusing topic as well. So here's the Robangle. So I'll just cut a board for you to just show you just how easy that works with a regular circular saw. Here we go. I'll whack one off. There we have a really nice straight cut, nice and true, absolutely spot on. It'll work on both ends of my cladding because we've got a fence on opposite sides, so you can just flip it round, and because it's a rhombus, the angles are exactly right. So I've got my first board here cut. This fits between the last of the square shoulders. Now, to mark my next section of board, my next length of board, I don't need to go up there and measure it. I just use one of my blocks, which is basically the courses. That's the cover effectively. So when I put that on the bottom and mark a line through there, that gives me the overall length of my next piece of cladding. Here we go, I'll mark it there. That is my overall length for the next piece of cladding. What this is creating, if I offer this board on here, here's one I marked earlier, one of those classic Blue Peter moments. Pop that on there. Move this saw. Oh, look at me, I'm like a wood professor, got wood everywhere here. Put these out of the way. I'll pull that through. So if I hold that on that point here, that's exactly where the next board wants to be. There we go. You got the idea. That's the same angle, obviously. And to get the length, we just offer it on here. And that's my next row of cladding. And then I'll carry on marking them up. I'll cut them all down here based on this. The other way of doing this as well is called a diminish. Diminish is a term which means that something is getting equally smaller as it travels. So to check my diminish, I'll square through here and measure to the point, and I have exactly 220 millimeters, or 8 5/8. So I double that, which gives me 440, or for the mathematicians out there, 17 1/4 inches. All right, so once I've got my length here, I can just cut all my boards square to that length and then put a point on each end. It's really straightforward, really simple, really quick, and then I can get them fixed. So using my diminish, I simply cut all my boards with the Robangle circular saw, pretty straightforward, using the offcuts from the long ones to get the short ones to save on waste. And then it was just a matter of going up, fixing them all in and leveling them as I went. And it was a piece of cake. And now that is a traditional, quick, efficient way of doing cladding, where you're not measuring anything apart from the very first board. And it's a perfect job, there's no gaps, and I just think that that's a really nice technique to master. So give it a go and see how you get on. Also, I know that you may be commenting on the type or choice of nail gun I've got here. When I'm doing cladding, sidings, or doing carcassing or anything like that where I'm using lots of nails, I reach for this Paslode because it has got a really nice double reamed addition that you can add on. So basically, look, if I undo this, I can change this carriage and I can get 2 reams of nails in against the other one. So it just means in this case, once I'm loaded up, I haven't got to reload, I can just get on and do the work. So that's just answered any questions. I still love the other guns I use, the battery powered ones, the Hikoki and the Milwaukee. Indeed, I've used them on this job. The other thing about this gun as well, it gives us a nice full headed nail. So instead of a clipped one, it's a full head. And I just think for cladding where you're actually going to see the fixing, I just think that's a really nice feature. So that's a big plus for the Paslodes out there. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed this video about cladding. We've got a little bit more to do, and I'll probably film some of that as well for future use.